Well, welcome on such a beautiful day to the House of Parliament. And as I say and have said for the last at least 4 or 5 weeks, on this most historic of weeks, another historic week in Parliament. And, you know, we've just been going over the order paper trying to figure out what we're going to do with all these meaningful votes. But it's a great pleasure to welcome you all here, because actually what you're doing, I think, is far more meaningful than what we're going to do potentially today. And it's great for you all to be here, but it's also great to be here really talking about the future of what I like to call career-led study. Apprenticeships and T-levels, for me, are very similar ways of trying to tackle this sort of same problem, which is how do we close the skills gap between what leaves education and what is required by business, and how do we do that in a way that gives young people or any person taking on an apprenticeship the best opportunity that they can to get on a decent career ladder. I am, as well as being a Member of Parliament for Chichester, I'm also an apprentice ambassador. But on top of that, I'm also the only degree level apprentice in the House of Commons. So for me, this is a very personal cause, and one that I am absolutely committed to. I grew up in a place called Knowsley, which is on the outskirts of Merseyside, and I went to what would be classed as a failing comprehensive school. So I had the full Knowsley Comprehensive School experience, and for anyone who's been in education in the room, they may know exactly what that means. But effectively, it meant that despite getting 10 GCSEs or GCEs as they were at the time, there was absolutely nowhere to go. There wasn't any A-level provision. So I actually did start an apprenticeship age 16 in a car factory in Liverpool. And I wasn't really sure what I was doing, but I knew that I would be guided in terms of my employment opportunity by General Motors, who were the people who took me on. And actually, it was the best start to business, which I had a 30-year business career afterwards. It was the best start that you could possibly have. I went round every single part of the car factory for 3 years. I was one of the few people who understood how the whole thing worked by the end of it. I was sponsored all the way up to degree level. So I first of all did BTEC or ONC, and then HNC, and then degree, all doing a day a week. But what was the most important thing was being able to study and then apply that study in that week or the following week is a brilliant way of learning. Never more so when you're in a fast-moving technology environment. So since I started in the workplace, there have been 2 big shifts in technology, and there's a third that is coming on the way. And anybody who tries to design in an education system what they think is going to provide the answer to a business in 5 or 10 years' time is going to get it wrong. A, because there's very little crossover between the worlds of education and business. Very few people move between the two. And B, because it's almost impossible because it's moving so quickly. So what you need to do is adapt within the environment of what you're learning. So that's why I think career-led study, working with businesses, working with very, very closely with the DFE and others involved in educating young people is absolutely the way forward. So I'm delighted to be here. One of the things that has concerned me a little bit about apprenticeships is, as you will understand from the one I've described, it would what would today be called a rotational degree level apprenticeship. Even though it didn't start as a degree level apprenticeship, that's what it became. And I would like every young person to have that opportunity, because at 16 I didn't know if I could do a degree or not. Certainly nothing in my Knowsley Comprehensive School gave me that confidence that I would be able to get up to that level of study. But of course, after I'd studied for 4 years, I did feel more confident. It was incremental. And I think from a social mobility perspective, having that ability to be incremental, having that ability to start on level 2 or level 3, to take to level 4, to go to level 5, 6, 7, as far as the young person or the person doing the apprenticeship wants to go, is an important, I believe, way that we should be moving the design for apprenticeships forward in the future, because you don't always know what you're capable of, but this will get the very best out of anybody that takes that kind of approach to the workplace. Over the years, I've also been very keen to help people understand that actually an apprenticeship isn't a second-class route into the workplace. In fact, in my business career, I've had people from Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, INSEAD, all the best universities in the world, all worked for me. And that was from my apprenticeship and a degree from Liverpool John Moores University. It's just a different route to get to the top of business. And actually, I found it was a better route because I was at least a couple of years ahead of anybody who came out of university in my age group. And actually that helped me accelerate my career. So it isn't an inferior way. It's not for kids that can't learn in a particular way. It may be that you either maybe you were not interested in school, or maybe you had illness throughout school, or maybe you had other things that meant that you didn't get the best academic start in life. This is another way of being able to get to the top of any business. So I'm delighted that you're all here. I'm delighted that you're all supporting what I think is the future of skills development in this country, which is career-led study. Thank you very much.